Welcome to Imperative Ministries Business and Spirituality Podcast. In each episode, we discuss matters of spirituality and how they relate to the world of business. Since people are comprised of mind, soul, and spirit, we will also take a look at subjects such as mental and physical health. Thank you for joining host Michael McIlwain as he interviews people whose life experiences provide an opportunity for learning and inspiration.
And there in its circle, while flowers did grow, bloom where you are planted, and God will make you grow. Bloom where you are planted, and God will make you grow. Tell other people that Jesus loves them so. Tell them how he came to earth and died to set them free. And bloom where you are planted, wherever that might be.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Michael from the Business and Spirituality Podcast. So glad to have you here with us today. And today I have a special guest, Brian Fleming, who is with us. And he has, again, an interesting story to tell and has some financial information, maybe from a different viewpoint than, I guess, the typical viewpoint that you here today, and I think it'll be helpful to you. That's why I've invited him to come here. So, Brian, welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey to where you are now. Just tell us about what you're doing, your journey to get there, and again, we'll just go from there after that and ask some questions about what you're doing now.
Well, I tell my story like this. I had my insurance licenses over 30 years ago, but I realized knocking on doors to make a living wasn't as fun as kicking them in. So I became a cop or whatever. I got back here, my blue line flag my daughter made for me. Now I'm back in insurance because I stumbled on something that really opened my eyes. Needed something to do when I was done being a police officer, which was 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. I left, retired. But now I'm into the insurance market again and showing people how to create wealth just by the way they finance things.
Yes, and that's what I found intriguing. We had, I think, a Zoom conversation sometime last year, and I didn't follow up on everything yet, but I'm interested in doing that. As you know, we got connected from insurance. By the way, I still do some of that, folks. I don't want pest control salesman, but I still do some. Made some sales the other weekend, and so who knows? May go back into that full time at some point. But I'm having a blast what I'm doing right now. And but I know, yeah, you said, like I say, that you have a product that you promote that deals with financial things, and I know it's a little different from the starve yourself to death and pay everything down and live super frugally. And again, not that there's not some merit to that. People do that, but there's just a different. I think it's obvious that the way a lot of people have been doing money is not the way to do it. So what got you into the product and I'd say the philosophy of what you hold to now?
Well, I mean, I actually stumbled on it. I was running a real estate investment club. I've been investing in real estate for a long time. There was a financial guru, entertainer back in my day. His name was Charles Gibbons. He taught a couple things, which some I still live, and I'm very glad I live. And number one is pay yourself first. If you make $1, you don't have $1 to spend, or $1.05, $1.10, $1.25 like so many people. You got 90 cents, 85 cents, 80 cents. And I live my life like that. And I'm so glad I listened to that and live my life that way.
Yes.
You also talked about owning a business. Even if it's the Avon lady or Tupperware, you own a business. Now you can write off things that you wouldn't be able to write off otherwise. He talked about buying real estate. Well, I got into real estate investing a long time ago and been doing it now for almost 27 years. But he also had this mantra, this 2-second soundbite that I lived for over 25 years, and that's buy term, invest the difference, which is buy term life insurance, invest the difference. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would I want to do anything else? I lived that for 25 years. No one could talk to me about anything else until I stumbled on something and got off my rear end and decided to investigate. Again, 25 years as a police officer, I investigated, you know, and I had to bring people to whole. I had to find the truth. And buy term, invest the difference is no way to live a life when that's all you're living by is a 2-second soundbite. So I decided to dig and dig and dig, and I'm like, holy cow. This is a phenomenal situation, a phenomenal thing, a concept. It blew me away. So now that's why I got back into insurance. Got my license again in 2011, retired from the police department in 2015. And now I show people how to become wealthy, even off their own indebtedness, if that's what they want to do.
And I know for me, that's intriguing because the pandemic has not been good to me. So, and I racked up a little more debt than I want to. And I'm sure I am not the only person.
No.
So that's why I feel like this is very important for people to hear. And so can you expound on that? How would you profit off your own indebtedness? I mean, what does that sort of goes against some of the common wisdom that we hear out there? So.
Well, it does, you know, and there's this saying, it's the reason we don't realize we've been lied to, conditioned, and brainwashed is because we've been lied to, conditioned, and brainwashed. I mean, all I did was listen to a 2-second soundbite for 25 years. Well, what's wrong with me? Anybody, we can get off our rear ends and say, what's the other side of the story? There's two sides to every piece of bread, no matter how thin you slice it. So what was the other side of that? And as I stumbled on the concept and I found out what the other side is, and I'm like, wow. So yeah, all we have, regardless what the subject matter is, there's two sides. So when I found that, I'm like, this needs to be shouted from the rooftops. You know, it's called, I mean, it's got a lot of different names. Becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, private family banking. It's got, you know, but, you know, profiting or making money off your own indebtedness, when you understand the concept of banking, how banking works, which you and me and everyone watching this is involved in already. It's just that someone else is making money off our money instead of us doing it. When you understand how money works, that's the key. You know, don't just listen to what someone else says. You know, not even my pastor says, don't listen to me, question me. I'm telling people right now, don't listen to me, question me. You know, we should question everything. And then when you do that, you'll find the truth, because the truth will set you free.
I agree. Well, and the previous guest that I went on about a 2-month hiatus. I know we've talked about starting a podcast, you know, I was talking to you about that. And one thing that Carrie Newhoff, who was one of the church growth gurus, had said, a lot of people start a podcast and quit after 8 weeks because they run out of guests. So, you know, that was part of my problem. But I had wanted to ask you again, because I just personally wanted to grasp this a little bit more. And my previous guest, though, mentioned that he had gotten out of some debt. And said it used to be the way we did things is you had a local banker and you could go down and buy a car and you just talk to the banker, don't worry about it, go write the check, I got you covered. And that was the way that sort of worked. But now they're owned less by the local people. And like he said, he wrote a check for $12,000 and paid off a truck. Well, his credit rating went down, not up. In other words, they want to keep you into, you know, something there. So it's almost like, just to me, it makes sense that maybe you'd want to bank on yourself, and you know, because I'm not going to penalize me in the way that maybe the same way that the credit bureau agency would, because they want me to stay maxed out to the
right. Yeah. Well, again, banking. A lot of people think banking is I have a savings account, a checking account, and I get a loan at the bank. Well, the loan part is kind of what banking is and where they make money. You know, we put money into a financial institution, a bank, a credit union, whatever. They then loan our money to other people. Those people make those payments back. They reloan that money to other people. Those people make those payments back. They reloan that money to other people. Those people make, that's the process of banking. And when we take that over in our lives, our pool of money gets bigger and bigger and bigger, just like the banks does off of our money. We just bring that to the you and me level so that we can do it on ourselves.
And I know you mentioned, you know, everything years ago was like, say, term life. And I'm starting to hear that there's a benefit to whole life and other policies, especially a guy like me who's 55. and I know I need to do more with my life insurance. But let's face it, I'm 55 and I'm not as skinny as I ought to be. And let's just face it, term life is not going to be cheap for me, and I'm not going to get anything out of it. I don't have that many more years to they'll even let me write me a policy. So for a guy like me or a person like me, what would be the advantage of the using the whole life area of building wealth? And what tips would you have there?
Well, I want to go back to that a little. First of all, there's a need for both, for term
right.
and for whole life.
Yes.
I mean, you and me both know, and we talked a little bit about it before we got on here. There's someone who gets in all the churches who teaches about how to be, at peace with your finances, let's say. And I actually think it's a sin. It's an actual sin that so many churches are allowing this stuff in, and then nothing else. What's the other side of the story?
Right.
Why? I mean, I think it's an absolute sin that that's happening. The churches let this in, and people are, and I know people who taught this course and realized, no, that's not the only way. I mean, it's great he gets the conversation going with money and finances, and all he talks about is term life insurance, but there's a need for both.
Right.
I'm not going to say don't get term. He says don't get whole life. That's a sin.
Yeah.
If you're keeping information from people that would benefit from them, to me, that's a sin. So whole life, there's obviously differences. Term and whole life. Term and whole life is permanent. So there's term and permanent. Term is for a specific term.
Right.
10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Almost all of those policies expire before the person the policy is on passes away. Right. Life insurance companies love it. They collect premium, and don't pay out.
Right.
Whole life or permanent is permanent insurance. It's for your whole life. So as long as you pay the premium, it's going to be there for your whole life, or the term is going to expire. And there's a big difference between them. It's not just cost. There's things that come into play. And with a properly designed whole life policy, you could use that as a financing vehicle for the things you buy.
Yeah, that is different. And think, but you're already paying some things in, so you're using your money as you're banking on yourself.
Well, I mean, to be technically correct, we're actually using the insurance company's money. They're using our money, the cash value part of the policy, as collateral. And some things that people get hung up on, I think, is, well, first of all, I tend to agree for the most part with this guy in the churches that maybe a straight up whole life policy isn't the best way to go. There's a need for that too sometimes.
Right.
But we design our policies so that most of the premium that you pay is usable. I mean, you pay car insurance, you can't use that unless you get in a collision. No, you pay homeowners insurance, you can't use it unless your door blows off or you have a fire. You pay a premium on a whole life policy, you can use most of that premium to finance things. And you finance it while your money is still going up in value at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think I'm not sure what the exact scripture reading is, but don't be slave to the debtor.
Right, yes.
Well, if you're going to be slave to the debtor or borrower, be the borrower too,
Right.
Be both. And you can be both in this and have your own debt and create wealth off your own debt.
That makes sense. I mean, like you said, that's another alternative that
right.
I heard Dr. Alan Martin, he had said this, and he said this probably 34 years ago. He was saying that there's this movement to say, don't ever borrow money or whatever. He was like, no, there's a biblical way to do that. Like you said, there's some wisdom. Many people do abuse credit cards. It'd be better for them not to have one. But, we're living in a world today that, again, our world sometimes doesn't value, you paying cash for things or whatever. So it looks like there's just like there's some other ideas there that we ought to explore. And I've been intrigued by that. And I think some of our listeners will be too. So.
Well, right. And that's the other thing. I mean, paying cash. Well, if we're supposed to be good stewards of his money, aren't we? Isn't there an opportunity cost that we're losing by paying cash?
Right.
Every time you pay cash, your money's gone and gone forever. It can't grow and be something more for you or somebody else in the future. Right. This concept allows you to have your money grow uninterrupted. Right. And then use it at the same time. And the more you do that, the more you have, the more you can give.
Right. That's right. That's what I tell people. I'm wanting to grow in my amount of money I make, not so that I can buy a big mansion, but I know of great needs out there in the world. My dad has a man in his church who's a very, he's obviously retired well. He did well with his money and his investments. And if you go to, if he happens to go visit you in the hospital, which it's still hard to do that some as we're moving out of the COVID era, but he knows that your family's there with a loved one. He's gonna slip $100 bill in your hand,
Yeah, right.
He could do that. I mean, because he's retired. Well, some people would, we have this class envy in our world today that kind of pit the haves versus the have-nots. But I've told people, I know a lot of people well-to-do who are very generous.
Right.
You don't know about it because they don't brag about it.
And that's the way it should be, right? Absolutely.
Right. They don't, but they're doing it, and you just don't know about it. So
Right.
Yeah. But no, that's just something that's really intrigued me, and I wanted to. I guess what would be the beginning steps for someone to explore what you're talking about? I know you said we research and all that, but I mean, what would you? I know you said you sort of stumbled upon this, but what would you advise somebody who's wanting to explore this route to do?
Well, you and me or nobody can make someone change their mind. We live with these blinders on. So if they're not willing to take these off to see what else is out there, I can't do anything for you. I just can't. I mean, if you're so bent on buy term, invest the difference, or I can't help you. So
we don't argue about it. That's right.
Right. If you're willing to understand that there's other things out there, I mean, I'd obviously want to talk to them, and I direct them to read a book. I mean, obviously the Bible is my Bible, but I have a second one called Becoming Your Own Banker, written by Nelson Nash, a Christian who has scripture in there. And he talks about these things too. I mean, again, when you understand this concept, and it's not about, well, going back, if you're borrowing from the banks and everything like that, they're in control of you. This puts you in your own control of your own system. Who knows what evil things are going on with the other places you put your money and everything like that. So why not just take this all over and take the you and me level, put it in your own household, and just make it work there.
I remember as a college student, I owed the IRS $600, and that's the first time I'd ever owed any money when I filed my taxes. And it was man, I was so weird. Where was I going to get that money? And it turns out that I had a Woodman of the World whole life policy, and I was able to. I didn't cancel the policy, but I was able to, I guess you say, take some money out of that, and it met the need. I mean, I had it there, and I didn't have a payment that I had to miss. I mean, I was paying back into the insurance, but I didn't have, I didn't have a creditor over me, terrifyingly.
All right. Well, and funny you say it that way, because I mean, Walt Disney started or kept his whole world going with life insurance. He borrowed against his policy to keep get Disney World up and running. J.C. Penney. I forget the name of the lady who started. I think it's Mary Kay. Different people have used their life insurance policies, and that's the other thing. Again, these guys, whether it's the guy in church or the gal who writes her books about all this stuff, and don't buy whole life. Well, people don't realize that, or don't even understand what BOLI is. BOLI. Bank owned life insurance. I don't think there's a whole lot of dumb people running banks. So if they realize the benefit of whole life insurance, why shouldn't we?
Right.
Right?
Running a bank-owned life insurance. Okay. Yes, that's it makes a lot of sense, and
maybe we should do what they do, not what they say.
And a lot of people are. I think too that what you said, the 2-second phrase. I think sometimes we're not careful. We want the most simple thing. We want to run with that and not take time to investigate, and explore.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the uphill battle for me. I mean, you, me, and everybody else is already involved in the banking function.
Right.
We are, but someone else is just making money off of us. It's hard for people to comprehend how to do that in their own little world, But if they did, it'd make a huge difference. I mean, I like to ask people, and I'll ask you, Michael, just think of all the money you spent on cars in your lifetime, and you'll continue to spend, never to see that money again.
Right.
How much do you want back?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what this concept does.
Right. That's because a lot of times when a buy car devalues anyway, but if you could get something back, that would be.
Well, right. I mean, I tell people this actually makes your car an appreciating asset instead of a depreciating asset.
And I would wonder if this concept's been a little more difficult to discuss with some people, because I was at a networking meeting yesterday and there was a couple of insurance people there. And, but they mentioned, that it really doesn't cost, even $150 a month as much as that. And that may be a lot of money for some people, but said, hey, you have that, then there's this catastrophic thing happens where you're not having to go out and put out a GoFundMe thing. And I was amazed at how many people spoke up and said, one lady had been a widow lady who had really been hammered hard, by the death of a husband years ago. And now she's doing well. But even she was like, hey, I don't even respond to most of those. Like, I hate that happened to those folks, but a little bit of insurance would have gone a long way. So I would even say you don't have to buy a massive, big, even a small whole life policy would probably be better than nothing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big proponent of life insurance, and that can be term. It doesn't have to be whole life. I mean, when you understand this concept and you eventually get involved in it, you're going to have more life insurance than you're ever going to need. You will.
Right.
But we're not doing this for life insurance. We're doing it for the finance equation in someone's life.
Right.
Now, when I first got into this, I was talking to a couple who liked the concept, but we're not ready for that. But you know what? We actually do need term insurance. We need life insurance.
Right.
So we got some term insurance on both him and her. It was $1 million term on him and $1 million term on her.
Right.
He passed away 3 years later.
Wow,
So she got $1 million death benefit.
Right.
It's not a lottery.
No.
It's not all about, it's about leave. And she was a stay-at-home wife where he was out working. They had rental property. So she didn't have to worry financially because life insurance was in place.
And I know a lady who's struggling right now. Obviously, her husband must not have had enough in place.
Right.
I know he was a hardworking, good man. I mean, I know that. Great guy. I myself do not have enough at this moment and need to do something. And that's been eating at me. And I think that's a spiritual thing. The Lord is saying, look, I'll provide for all your needs, but there's things you can do.
Yeah.
So I'm probably checking with you on more of this whole life concept, because I don't know a whole lot of folks that are, I know people who are selling it, but again, I know your Christian values. So I know you're not just trying to make a quick buck off of me. I know you're thinking of the whole concept of what it is and what I need. And so maybe could you give some people advice about that? I'm sure everybody, as we know, it doesn't matter whether it's selling insurance or pastoring. I tell people that every pastor is not a good guy. Some people come to me and say, I don't like a lot of pastors. And I say, well, I don't like a lot of them either, and I'm a pastor. So that's not to be bad. As you know, you were a policeman. Every policeman's not good, but most are. Most pastors are. I think most insurance agents want to help people. But so what can people look for, which, by the way, I know you have a license in many states. And so a lot of my listeners, even if you're not in his state, which is Wisconsin, is that right?
Correct.
He can still help you. But even if he can't, what kind of person would you direct them to? What qualities or things? I guess what red flags should run them off from somebody, and what other things should maybe make them, if they're exploring this way of thinking?
Well, I want to go back a little bit as far as selling insurance. I didn't get licensed again to sell life insurance. It sounds really weird,
right?
When I stumble on this concept, which is life insurance based, I'm like, wow, I'm getting licensed so I can help people finance things in their life to create wealth, to help them finance. I mean, I don't need to sell life. I don't even need to do this. Right. I got a pension. I'm blessed to have a pension and rental properties, But when you see what this does and how it can change people, but go to your next question. I am what's called an infinite banking practitioner with the Nelson Nash Institute, NNI, infinitebanking.org. Nelson Nash, we call him the father of this movement of becoming your own banker. So I'm a practitioner with his organization, and to teach this the way he taught it and wants it to be taught. He passed away a couple of years ago, but it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a sales method for selling life insurance. It's a way to create wealth when you understand how money works and have it working for you. So I would obviously have people go to that site to find a practitioner in their state. If they don't want to work with me, which I can still probably help them in a state where they're at, whatever state they're in. But there's a lot of stuff out there. pastor wise, insurance wise, infinite banking wise, on YouTube, whatever. That's just not true. You know,
Right.
people, again, trying to make it sound like this is really the answer, the get rich quick, using products that really aren't suitable for this concept.
Right.
So just some things to be careful of, you know, and I would start with an infinite banking practitioner from the very beginning.
Well, I was, I've been preaching a series in my church, a small church where I pastor out of the book of Galatians. And I've said, the grace of God, if you totally break it down, it seems too good to be true. That's why a lot of people struggle with it and go different directions and add a bunch of good works and good deeds and all that to it. And I'm not really teaching on that here today, but my point is that, yeah, people have taken even such a wonderful concept and abused it and twisted it. And, the Bible's pretty clear about what it is. So
Right.
I would just tell everybody that's discouraged about, saying, well, it seems to be hard to find the truth. Well, I don't care what you're doing. It's hard to find the truth. I mean, it
Right.
is. I mean, there's always people obscuring that. And you got to, but again, if some of you have failed and made mistakes, quit beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep growing. A lot of what I share is just areas that I've screwed up, and I said, well, don't do that, but do this.
Right.
But at 55 years, well, I'm almost 55. I choose 55. It's just 2 5s there. It's just so I don't know, concise, But at 55, there's just I'm still learning and growing, and I plan to keep doing that till I'm 105 if God lets me live that way. So, well, I know that you've got somewhere to go here quickly, but is there any just thoughts that in maybe closing? And again, I could talk with you an hour or more, and I myself have got to get with you because again, I confess it was a little bit of a selfish reason I wanted to interview. I wanted to learn more about this, but I also wanted my listeners to learn more. And maybe this is a blessing that we only have about 30 minutes because I've got a few that go an hour and a half, and some people hang with me for that, and others.
Right.
But what are maybe some closing thoughts you would have, Brian? That's it.
Well, again, I'll go back to me. Again, I was a police officer for 25 years. My job was to seek the truth, for people who were victimized and to find what the truth was, to bring them to as whole as possible after they were a victim. I truly believe we are victimized in the financial world. We're not told everything that we should be told. There's a lot of information out there that I really think is purposely being kept from us. Again, going back to the evil in this society and to our world, banks and Wall Street, I think they have a lot of control over us, and there's a lot of evil.
Yes.
But that's where we're told to put our money. Our most important money, our retirement money, is 100% at risk. What sense is there in that? So so I mean, that's just a little bit about me. I don't have to do this. I'm not going to force someone into a sale because I got to eat tonight. I'm here to tell you the truth and let it set you free. Open your eyes, be aware there's other things out there, and don't be afraid to ask questions and to, again, question other things, not just me. And question me, like I said, question your pastor. You can question your doctor, whatever. You can ask questions and don't be afraid of that.
I had a lady, I used to work in a medical group. I worked for 9 years, and one of my patients there that I was helping, she said, they call it medical practice for a reason, because it's not an exact science.
Right.
There's things they try, and I take some medicines, but I take a lot of supplements, and getting better. So there's a lot of research. Now you can research something that scare yourself to death on the medical end.
Right. Or anything.
But I think it's good to research because it, at least if anything, it gives me good questions, even hard questions to ask, whether it's a financial guy, the doctor, the theologian. And I know for me, I'm used to this is business and spirituality. I want to tell you there's in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, Jesus said, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. We sometimes think that asking is asking for and it is asking for a physical need to be met, but Jesus is okay with you asking questions. And if anybody doesn't, whether it's a religious leader, a financial person, a ball coach, because I coach ball some, a pest control guy, whatever, if nobody wants you asking a question, I'd run from that person because they've got something to hide. Good, honest people. The Lord himself doesn't have a problem with you asking questions. So whoever you're dealing with shouldn't have a problem with that either. So
right. Yeah. So that's really it. I mean, just again, don't be afraid to just look at other things. I mean, if you stop learning, we might as well just jump in the 6-foot hole, right? We should be learning the rest of our lives, no matter what it is.
Right.
Keep learning.
A lot of stuff to keep learning,
Yeah.
to keep growing in.
Yeah.
And to me, it keeps life interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's the same way with church, theology, anything. You've got to keep
Yeah.
growing. The basic truths don't change, but
Right.
there's just, you understand them better.
Right. I want to add a couple things here. I mean, because I practice what I preach, I have a policy that I use for a banking system. I've used it to fund college for my kids. I've used it to pay costs for my rehabs for my rental properties. I've used it to finance cars. And I still have money in my policy right now. I've got capital. And when you have capital, opportunities find you. So I'm looking for cash flowing assets right now. I had a call this morning with a franchise consultant because I'm looking to put some of my money to work in my policy in a cash flowing asset somewhere else. So it's going to work in my policy and it's going to work somewhere else at the same time. That's a wonderful thing.
You're taking that money that you're earning and you're still spreading it out. So you're still doing what the Bible says, cast your bread upon the water, and after many days, it'll come back to you. In other words, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
But this is a good basket, though, to get started.
Well, and I absolutely think it's a great, probably, I'm biased, the best financial foundation.
Yes.
Your money in the market, which is 100% at risk, is no foundation at all. But that's usually where we put it. It can be in a bank, I guess, in a savings account, losing money because they don't pay you nothing, But if you have a good foundation for your money and then use it, go from there, it's a win-win.
Because if interest rates go up, that will help. I remember when you could get a savings account at 6% interest, now you get, I don't know, is it even 1% or something? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, but then the loan rates are higher and everything too, so it's all relative. But
right, that's true. That's but no, this is awesome concept. I'm looking to explore more. I want to encourage our listeners and viewers at Business and Spirituality Podcast to do the same, to do your homework, research. And I know that Brian is a resource and can help you. So Brian, what are some links of ways that people could get with you? Because as we leave here, as the music comes on in, I'm gonna have a slide up here that's gonna tell people how they can. I've got some of these resources already, Infinite Baking, and I think that book would be a good book for them to get. But what are some things that we should put up on that final screen there?
Well, I mean, I came up with a business name for myself, which I could have been Fleming and Associates. Well, what is that? Am I at an architecture firm? Am I a bunch of attorneys?
Yeah.
So I came up with the name Financial Fortress Builders because I build a fortress around your finances, so you don't have to worry about losing money if you don't want to. So financialfortressbuilders.com is my website. They can go there. It directs them a little bit to the Nelson Nash, the infinite banking one, and private family banking as well. But I think those are some good resources and places to start with infinitebanking.org, the book Becoming Your Own Banker, and my site, financialfortressbuilders.com.
Your own banker. All right. Well, I'm gonna put those things up there so that y'all can see that as the credits roll here. And I thank you for your time, Brian. I know you have to run and go somewhere, and I got to go sell some pest control too, so I have to go do that. But I took a lunch break time to sort of do this. So, but thank you for your time, Brian. I know I will be in touch with you soon myself. And so everyone, check it out, financialfortressbuilders.com, Becoming Your Own Banker. Look at these resources, and I know that they will help you. So
thanks for having me on.
I
appreciate it.
Here. So everyone, till next time, take care. God bless. May the Lord bless you and
Amen.
keep you.
While walking in the woods one day, not so long ago, I saw an old discarded tie from long, long ago. And there in its circle, wildflowers did grow. Bloom where you are planted, and God will make you grow. Bloom where you are planted, and God will make you grow. Tell other people that Jesus loves them so. Tell them how he came to earth and died to set them free. and bloom where you are planted, wherever that might be.